Hi guys, it's Curtis Anderson from the Third Reefers, and today I'm going to go through how to do a spring swap out on the TRD5 reel. This reel is a product that we introduced at the beginning of 2025, and we've got a lot of good feedback about the construction. That being said, it comes with a very stiff spring, and so we have a lot of customers who prefer a softer spring. Now, as we're selling these retail moving forward, they're going to be coming with a softer spring installed as the default, and the stiff springs will be included in the package in case you want to switch out. Really, both of them work perfectly well, but for some people, they find that the stiff springs are a little bit hard to use and squeeze for a long period of time. And so I'm going to go through how to swap out the springs. And also as a part of maintenance, when you're taking the whole reel apart, I'm going to show you how to put thread locker on the screws so that the screws don't back out during repeated use. So we use these reels a lot and dive. I probably do 60, 70 dives a year with this reel. And so I recommend it, probably once a year to every 2 years, depending on how frequent you dive. You're going to want to take out all the screws and put some thread locker on them so that you don't lose any hardware or don't have sort of a catastrophic problem underwater where some of the screws back out and the thing disassembles. It's really uncommon that would happen, but the thread locker can make it basically nearly impossible to happen. Just also want to note that the reels are available on our website, www.thirdreefers.com. Here within the next few months, we're going to be selling repair kits for the reel, because we really feel like this is a reel that you can use for life. And so we're going to have a repair kit that's going to include extra springs and all the hardware necessary to sort of fix or replace anything that might get damaged, get lost, or corrode over years and years of use. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started, and I'll show you how to break this down. All right, so the reason why we're swapping out the springs on this is a wholesale customer who has the stiff springs in one of the samples they have in their shop, and they wanted us to switch out for the softer springs, as they've also gotten some of the same feedback that the customers prefer the softer springs. So in order to break down the reel, what you're gonna need is a 5/8 inch wrench and a 1/2 inch just simple wrench. I actually keep these just for this purpose, and have those. And then you're going to need a 3/16 Allen wrench and a 5/32 Allen wrench. So those two Allen wrenches. Okay, and then you need some sort of thread locker, either Loctite or this is a thread locker that I use. Any of that will work. I generally use the blue type of thread locker rather than the red. I think it's sufficient to keep things from backing out, and I want to be able to remove the screws if I need to relatively easily. So the first thing you're going to notice, just to go through what the reel looks like here, we have an Allen wrench screw here to hold on our clip for our bolt snap. We have 2 more Allen wrenches here for the slider, okay? And then inside here, there are 2 thumb tightened small screws that the springs are mounted on, okay? In addition, you have your axle for the spool. This is threaded into the aluminum housing, and you have a nut on the end here. So the first step we're gonna have to do to replace the springs is we're gonna take the spool off, okay? This is really the trickiest part of this. It's not that it's tricky to take it off, it's tricky that you don't want the line to come loose, okay? So first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna take off this nut, okay? So you may have to, if this is loose, you may have to hold one at the bottom and just go ahead and loosen this nut. This is a lock nut, and so it has a ring of rubber inside. So this generally doesn't need Loctite or anything, and it will stay on there quite tight. Once it's loosened and gotten past the rubber, you can take that off, okay? Now, this is the part where I want you to follow really closely what we're doing, okay? This is threaded into the aluminum. but the spool is full of line, and the spool is in parts in case you ever need to replace a part or you want to change the spool out or anything like that. So this is not a solid piece, this is in 3 pieces, okay? So we don't want that to come apart with a line on it or you're gonna get a tangled mess. It's really quite simple to keep it from doing that. I just hold it with my hand like a C here. So I'm holding onto the aluminum here and onto the spool, okay? And then all you have to do is loosen this screw a little bit. Okay, once you loosen a little bit, it should be easy to unscrew by hand. Okay, now there's a washer here and there's another washer in there. Okay, so we don't want to lose those are important to keep. So watch this unthread right through the aluminum. Once it comes loose, a few more turns here, then with my finger underneath, just going to push that over and then you can set this aside. Okay. So now we set that aside. That should be fine sitting there. Okay, so now we have the real mechanism itself. Okay, now the order doesn't really matter, but I do like to take it completely apart before putting thread locker on. So you just take this screw here that holds the bolt snap on, to unscrew that. Okay, so keep that aside. Keep that aside, keep our parts kind of tidy. Now when these reels come, they're all gonna have thread locker on all these screws. And so you wanna make sure you don't lose the little washer there. That just helps it slide well along the metal. So we have now these 2 that you're taking off with one of the Allen wrenches. Okay, so we do the 2 Allen wrenches here, and that's going to allow this handle to come off and your 2 springs to come off, okay? And you can see the difference. These are really quite stiff and these are much softer, more compliant, okay? So lastly, you want to take these 2 little guys off. These you should be able to loosen just by hand. There is an Allen wrench in there, but it's really not necessary to use them to take them off. They have little grips so that you can unscrew these by hand. When you put them back, I recommend just tightening them with your fingers and not using the Allen wrench. So this is the parts that you have, okay? Now, Loctite is really viscous stuff, and so you really only need to put barely any on there. You just put a little drop and it will find its way around the screws. So you see that I'm just putting barely a drop there. In the longer screws, you can put a drop that's a little longer, but it will find its way around the screw. Okay, so that's it. That's really all you have to do. You do not have to let the Loctite dry before inserting them back in, okay? So I start here with these finger screws, the small screws that the springs are mounted on. So you just thread those back in. And again, I don't think you need an Allen wrench, just hand tight's enough. Okay, so next we're going to put the handle back on. Okay, so you're going to take the softer screws and you can just kind of rest one on there. The small point here on the handle goes into the small square space there. Okay, this is for the sliding screws and this is for the part of the handle. So that goes in there and there's a groove under there, a nice little channel for the springs to sit in. So you just put that in and let the spring sit tight in there. Then you take the second spring, put it over the screw and into the channel. Now that that's in there, we're ready to put the sliding screws in. And what I recommend is that you put them in first and then tighten them down with the Allen wrench. Okay, so once those go in there, use the larger of the 2 Allen wrenches, and these you do want to snug really tight. You don't have to worry about over tightening them because there's space in there and they're just screwing into the threaded part of the handle. All right, so now you have a nice functional slide there, and it's quite a bit easier than the screws that were in there before. So next, we're going to put our bolt snap clip on here, and that just goes down in here. Smaller of the two Allen wrenches. And again, you want to tighten this down pretty good so that this doesn't come off when you're diving. Okay, so nice and tight. Okay. And then lastly, we're going to go ahead and put the spool back on. You're going to do this exactly how you did it before. So keep your finger on the screw down here. Hold everything together like a C-clamp. The thing that's important when you're putting this on there is you want to make sure that your locking mechanism is in the groove, okay? Then you just push the spool up against the aluminum and screw in your screw, okay? If you notice resistance, it could be misthreading, so just take your time, don't rush it. You don't want to misthread and strip out the aluminum that you're screwing the screw into, okay? So this goes in nice and easily. There's really no reason to lock tight this long screw. I don't find that it loosens on its own. So I don't necessarily recommend that you have to do it. You can, but it ends up being a little bit messy. Okay, so once that's in there, you can tighten this down really tight because this is designed to stay kind of loose. Okay, so it's in there tight, but there's room on the axle for this to spin nicely. Okay, see how easy that spins. Once you have that on there, you're going to put the lock nut on there. Start with your fingers. It's going to get difficult when it hits the rubber part, which is what you want. Then you're just going to snug that down. Okay, once it's snug, that should be adequate to keep this all from coming apart. But you see how easy this spins? If you want that to have more resistance and be a slower spin, you can just tighten this nut down here tighter, so that it pulls the aluminum down against your spool. But that's it, guys. So you do that, takes about 10-15 minutes. Do that once a year and keep your TRD5 working for a lifetime. And all right, well, I hope this was helpful and you now feel confident in doing some basic maintenance on your TRD5 reel from Third Reefers. Again, we switched out the springs to the softer springs. Again, if you buy these online or through some of our retail partners, they should come with an extra set of stiff springs and should already have the soft springs installed. If your particular retailer still has the stiff springs in there and you want some soft springs, you can always email us at thirdreefers@gmail.com. You can also reach out to us through Facebook, direct message, or through Instagram, or through our website, www.thirdreefers.com. Make sure to check that site out. Coming in the third quarter, at the end of the third quarter this year, we're going to have repair kits that have all of the hardware, screws, and springs available on our website so that you can do repairs. We're really looking at this reel to be the single reel that you need for a lifetime of use. It's really sturdily constructed, but as you all know, you may have to do some tweaking and repairs over time. So again, I showed you how to Loctite all the screws and how to break down the reel so that you can do that. Try to do this once a year if you're a heavy diver, or maybe every 2 years if you don't dive as frequently. And again, we stand by our products. So if you have any issues, reach out to us and we'll try to make it right for you or figure out a solution. Thanks, guys, and keep diving.